Of all the DC characters, Batman may have the most experience with some seriously messed up stuff. While other DC characters have dealt with their fair share of horror, the protector of Gotham City has been doing it so much that these things barely seem to faze him anymore. I'm Adam Andrews with Top 10 Nerd, and today it's the top 10 darkest Batman moments. Number 10. Arkham Asylum. One of the great things about Batman compared to any other hero is the way his comics can lean really heavily on the darker aspects of human beings, and because of that, they can also get away with much more expressionistic art that can be really gorgeous while also being extremely terrifying. As an example, let's talk about the graphic novel Arkham Asylum. The gritty gothic artwork, which looks like it came straight out of my nightmares, meshes with the extremely dark, disturbing, supernatural themes of the story to take what is essentially just Batman going to work to secure Arkham Asylum into a brutal, mind-twisting funhouse ride. Batman takes on some of his most well-known foes here, but the fights aren't the compelling part, it's the sheer freakiness of it all. The real brutality of the story comes in its horror and the dark past of Arkham Asylum itself, which is slowly drip-fed to us as we make our way through pages and pages of the most terrifying Joker I have ever seen. It's messed up. Number 9. Face Off. Speaking of Joker, in Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Batman Endgame storyline, the Joker eventually kidnaps the whole Batman family and has an incredibly messed up dinner party. The Joker has Batman in a chair that, thanks to pressure plates, will trigger the passing of the whole Bat crew if he decides to get up. With each Bat family member wearing a bag over their head, Joker reveals their dinner, and it appears as though he has seemingly separated the skin from their faces and served it to them at the dinner table on ice, with all the Bat family members revealed to have bandages on their faces instead. It's honestly terrifying and super gruesome, but it is all just a ruse to try and break the Batman yet again. Instead, he proceeds to try and burn them all alive and then infects them all with Joker toxin, causing them to fight each other, distracting Batman from his fight with the Clown Prince of Crime. Number 8. Bane. There are many deranged and off-the-wall villains in Batman's rogues gallery, and while the Dark Knight has suffered losses and defeats at the hands of a few, none of those defeats are as infamous as the one he suffered at the hands of Bane. By issue 11 of the Broken Bat storyline, Bane had managed to find out that Bruce Wayne was indeed Batman. Bane surprised Bruce at his home, pumped himself with venom, and laid a brutal beating on the Dark Knight in his own home. The fight continued on into the Batcave, and completely taken by surprise, Batman is on his last legs when the venom-fueled tank of a man lifted Batman over his head and dropped him spine first onto his massive back-breaking knee. The brutal move, captured in one of the most iconic panels ever, put the Batman completely out of commission, requiring him to choose another to fill his role as the protector of Gotham until he could make his triumphant return. Number 7. Barbara Gordon. Alan Moore and Brian Bolland's infamous 1988 Batman and Joker centered story, The Killing Joke, had Joker do something most people just didn't expect: the crippling and violation of Batgirl, otherwise known as Barbara Gordon. The events of the story would eventually spur the newly wheelchair-bound Gordon into becoming the fan favorite Oracle. It was incredibly divisive and controversial. While it won an Eisner Award at the time and was critically lauded as one of the best Batman stories ever told, it has definitely changed the tone of Batman comics, with Frank Miller's 1986 The Dark Knight Returns sending the tone even further down to the dark rabbit hole. Writer Alan Moore has reflected on the story by saying, quote, "It is far too violent," and he called the book, quote, "a regrettable misstep on my part." For Batman, any harm done to any member of the Bat family is ultimately on his shoulders, and while she does not pass away, Barbara was crippled and forever altered by the event, something that haunts Batman forever. Number 6. Zur-En-Arrh. The Batman of Zur-En-Arrh was introduced in 1958's Batman number 113 as Tulano, who protects a faraway planet in a red, yellow, and purple Batman-inspired suit. While a dazed Batman pilots the Batplane over Gotham City one night, he finds himself transported to the world of Zur-En-Arrh by Tulano, and Bruce helps Tulano fight off alien invaders with Superman-like powers and then is transported back to Earth. Now, fast forward to Grant Morrison's run on Batman, and the whole adventure was revealed to be a hallucination caused by an isolation experiment on Bruce by the villain Dr. Simon Hurt. With Zur-En-Arrh being derived from Bruce Wayne mistaking his father's last words, which were, quote, Zorro in Arkham, which is the show they had just watched before his parents were brutally snatched away from him. Using the trigger phrase, Dr. Hurt broke Bruce's mind and left him on the streets of Gotham. However, Bruce had developed a backup personality to bring the fight back to Dr. Hurt, the much more brutal Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Number 5. Hush. Batman Hush in its entirety could be seen as a brutal moment. It strikes at the childhood life of Bruce Wayne himself, pushing Batman to a point we rarely ever see him go. In Batman issue number 614, right smack dab in the middle of the Hush story arc, Tommy Elliot, the childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, loses his life at what seems to be the hands of the Joker. All the years and years of distress caused by the Joker, the people hurt, the lives lost, they all fuel this insane rage inside of Bruce Wayne, who begins to lay a spectacular beatdown on the Joker, knocking out both Harley Quinn and even Catwoman, who both had tried to stop him. Batman almost goes to the point of permanently bringing an end to the Joker, beginning to put aside his morals to finally be rid of this homicidal plague on Gotham City. It's not until Jim Gordon intervenes while Batman has his gloves around the Joker's neck that the Dark Knight finally relents. The worst part is that if Batman did go through with this, the Joker wasn't even the one responsible for the crime in the first place. Number 4. Great White. Warren White, not Walter White, is a Batman villain who isn't exactly the most well known, as he is just really underused. However, his backstory with Arkham Asylum Living Hell is one of the most interesting villain origins of the entire roster of rogues at DC's disposal. Despite that, the Great White Shark's origins are so dark that it's really doubtful they will ever be adapted to the big screen, and that's because, well, it really ain't fun for the whole family. Just like everything else on this list, pretty much. Warren is sent to Arkham Asylum after pretending to be mentally disturbed to avoid a longer jail sentence, meaning he pled insanity. But he really did not know what he had just got himself into. Arkham is not the place you want to go to, even if the alternative is jail. The asylum and those who are, quote, treated there, put Warren through the ringer in every single way possible. This was bad enough, but it culminates in the criminal known as Jane Doe stealing his identity and leaving him in a freezer to perish. While Warren doesn't actually succumb to being frozen, he does have a number of his extremities, including his nose, frozen to the point that they fall off. This leaves White both physically and mentally traumatized, and understandably so. That's why the Great White Shark is how he is. Number 3. DAMIAN'S demise. The revelation that Batman was a father was something Batman was not quite ready for, but his attachment to and love for his son, Damian Wayne, was strong and has only grown over time. Missing out on key moments, the young Wayne had a lot to learn and had a mindset that Batman felt it necessary to correct through love, consistency, and hard work. Damian was becoming a fantastic Robin, even if he was a little smug and quite violent at times. He grew on many fans and on Batman himself, but just as Damian's mother had brought him into the world through deceit and villainy, she also played a key role in taking him out of it. Talia al Ghul and her forces invaded Gotham, and when Damian was taken out by his mad clone, the Heretic, Batman experienced a loss that affected him so strongly. He experienced a thirst for vengeance against all he thought responsible for Damian's demise. Eventually, that vengeance found its way to Apocalypse, where Batman faced down Darkseid to retrieve his son's body, but ended up reviving him instead, so it's all thumbs up. Number 2. Flashpoint Batman. When the Flashpoint universe was created, it changed a lot of characters. Possibly one of the most interesting ones was Batman, who in this universe is actually Thomas Wayne, with Bruce losing his life instead way back in Crime Alley, and Martha Wayne? She became the Joker. It's twisted and cool, and this Batman has a different moral code. Taking out criminals is not a problem, but when he finds out that mainline Bruce Wayne becomes the Batman, he deems this unacceptable and he tries to change his son's ways. Instead of being a nice father alongside Bane, he ruined Batman and Catwoman's wedding, causing her to leave him at the altar, nearly had Batman send Mr. Freeze to the afterlife for a crime he did not commit, kidnapped Damian Wayne, hired the KG Beast to take out Dick Grayson, he had Bane put Alfred Pennyworth in the ground, and then Thomas incapacitated Bruce with fear toxin and kidnapped him. He dug up the coffin of Martha Wayne, wishing to use the Lazarus pits to resurrect Martha so that they could all just be a happy family again. But this whole thing is super messed up, and it did not go the way he planned. Number 1. The death of Alfred. Like I said, instead of, I don't know, being a good father, Flashpoint Batman teams up with Bane to break Bruce. In 2019's Batman number 77, Alfred Pennyworth is taken out by Bane and Thomas Wayne, the Flashpoint Batman, in front of Damian Wayne's eyes. Bane and Thomas take Alfred hostage and warn the Batman family that if Batman comes into Gotham, Alfred is kaput. Instead, Alfred essentially sacrifices himself because he knows that Batman will not let Alfred get hurt. Alfred pleads with Bane, quote, not in front of the boy. But with a twist of his arms, Bane snaps the neck of Bruce's father figure and oldest friend. Bruce discovers the body of Alfred in Batman number 83, confirming that Alfred is in fact gone, and Bruce is beside himself with pain. As tears come to his face, he can barely even speak. Alfred's passing is complicated since he does come back as a villain later on. Now, Alfred's death is complicated since he does come back as a villain. Alfred is revived by a maniac named Brandon Crawford and brought back as, quote, Outsider. Outsider's radiation-exposed powers include telekinesis and having a nearly impenetrable stone body. He has none of Alfred's memories or personality, and his singular goal is to destroy Batman and Robin. The realization of who this villain is just adds insult to injury for Bruce Wayne, and it's very, very bad. And boom! We are now out of the dark, and you are free to enjoy the sun. Go outside, look at a flower, pet a dog, whatever you do. I'm Adam Andrews, and I will catch you guys on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerds.